All right, let's welcome Kyle, the promiscuous time traveler, to 7.5 questions. How you doing today, Kyle?
Pretty good. How are you, Scott?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome.
All
Thanks for
right.
doing the show.
No problem. Thanks. Like literally, thanks for having me. This is an honor for me to be
It,
here.
this is going to be a fun one. I can tell already.
Yep. I got some tricks for you. I got some surprises. So go ahead and let's
wait.
do it. Yep.
Can't wait. All right, so let's start off with your first keyword.
Yeah, let's do it.
First keyword, in honor of Austin over Peach, is going to be turtle. Because your something is killing the turtles poster is so prominent in your layout behind you.
Turtle. Got it.
Turtle. All right. How did you come up with your IG handle?
That was, well, I have to start it with what it was supposed to be. I wanted it to be time traveler-esque. So my first thing was I knew people were going to be like, oh, you're a time traveler. You can go fix that. And you could tell me who kills Batman and you could do all this stuff. And my first inclination was to be the inconvenient time traveler, where I would, it would be my cop out. It'd be like, yeah, I'm a time traveler, but I'm terrible at it. Like I would show up at like the wrong times and like I'd be late to every show. And like, I was just going to run with that because life's hectic and it gives you an excuse to get out of things. But then, I wanted to save money on business cards because I also do a photography. I'm a photographer for I don't have a PG way of saying this, like kink photography, I guess
This is not a PG show.
So. Okay, then I do kink photography for like the adult films, I guess is a way to put it, but it's not adult films. It's more of like adult content. And then I thought promiscuous. And I'm like, okay, that's I could go with that. And then promiscuous time traveler just kind of worked. And I was like, okay, cool. So now I'm gonna look really cool going. I'm a nerdy dude. I'm gonna look super cool going into like all these chat rooms and they're gonna be like, I love your name. And it just kind of fell on and it worked. And now my business card.
Now when you say kink, are we talking like Max After Dark or full blown hustler? Or
that's it. Okay. Yes, to both. Yes.
It just depends on the day and the person, right?
It does. My hard drives are
encrypted. I hope.
Yes. They're not on my network attached storage that we talked about earlier, because I had a more or less data breach problem in my real life, and none of that got exposed. So there's nothing in the cloud. I had everything on hard drives, so they'd actually have to get physical copies. But yeah, so it was a mesh between the sex industry and the collectible industry, and it worked. And then Loki came out. And I'm like, heck yeah. Like I watched. Oh, it was
perfect timing.
Yep, I absolutely enjoyed that show, especially what it did with time traveling, and I'm all for it. So, but yeah, there you go. That's the
okay. What about your logo? I'd never actually seen it before until you showed it to me just a few minutes ago.
I was gonna pull it up on my phone, but this is the best that I can do. My girlfriend of the time, who kind of is like the part of the reason why I'm the promiscuous time traveler, is because she got me into we have a polyamorous relationship. So it's basically you have you have like boundaries and guidelines, but there can be more than two people in the relationship, and it's a hard thing to explain to people. But like once you I don't know, it's a generational thing,
right?
But my long-winded answer is that she designed this for me. I wanted something kind of outer spacey. I got an hourglass in the middle. My favorite color is somewhere around purple, and yeah, I just put it in like a nice font. It spirals, it gets bigger, and yeah. So, but like with I don't know. I didn't know that I was gonna jump into that right away. But like, a polyamorous relationship is so weird but so freeing at the same time. Like you don't have like these stresses like in the back of your head, like, oh, what's going on? You just have to communication is the best part in that aspect. So yeah, that has nothing to do with my logo, doesn't it?
So was that your one and only attempt at a logo? Did you have other options, or she just drew that? You said that's.
I picked the background and she went with it. I had like minor adjustments. Are you familiar with Fiverr? It's like a site where you can like hire people to do like minuscule tasks and
Yep,
stuff like that.
I have seen that.
And they give you like edits and stuff like that. It was like that, but it was in person. I had a couple edits. I submitted the edits to her. Now it sounds like a business. To answer your question, no, that was like pretty much one and done. I barely changed anything to it because we were both on the same wavelength in terms of what we wanted it to be.
Gotcha. All right. Well, yeah, and that will be down here at the bottom because I'll have a copy of that after the edit, so cool. Your logo will be prominent for everybody to see.
Yeah. Thank you. Cool.
All right. What's the first comic you remember reading?
Ooh, reading. Okay, so this is. I don't have it because my friend brought it over to my house, and my neighbors are actually to blame for me being in the comic industry. The first thing, the way that I got in was they basically came over to my house and said, hey, do you want to go to this thing called D23? And it was a convention out in Anaheim, strictly Disney stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And it was like 8 months out. And they're like, oh, are you going to dress up? And I'm like, dress up? Why would I dress up to go to a comic book convention? And they're like, well, everybody does it. And I'm like, okay, cool. What do I like? And like, that was around the time, it was like 2013 or something. I think Tangled had just come out. So I was obsessed with Flynn Rider. And I dressed up as Flynn Rider and I went to the conventions. And then when we got home, he goes, hey man, like you knew there was a bunch of comics there, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, read this. And he hands me The Killing Joke, the hardcover of The Killing Joke. And I read through it and I was just blown away. I was like, wow, like Joker has this awesome origin story, but then it's convoluted because he can't be trusted in that aspect. Like what he's saying is so off the wall, but then like Harley Quinn followed him and the psychology behind it was just fascinating to me. And I literally fell in love with comics from The Killing Joke, the hardcover. And that's recent. Like this happened like 2013, 2014, 2015. Not sure exactly what year it was. But that, I mean, I don't know what time is anyways.
Well, if you're into it for the stories, Alan Moore will definitely suck you in.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was the dedication, like so much of it, just like Harley's dedication to Joker was so fascinating to me. But like this guy like jumps into a vat of acid, and I'm just like, wow, that's it had me, but that's not even like the first comic book I bought. That was just the first comic book that I read.
And so how old were you when you read it then?
So what year are we in? 2021? I always get years confused.
Well, I mean, traveling through time probably does that to you.
Yeah, so
right now this interview is taking place in 2021.
Okay, got you. So I just don't remember what year it was. I was like, I was probably 20, to be honest. It was probably nine years ago. Maybe it was earlier. I don't know. I don't remember when I read it. I just knew that I fell in love with comics because of it.
So ballpark, you were 20-ish.
Yeah, in my early 20s.
Okay,
that's fair. Maybe 22.
So he literally gave you the book, and you had it in your possession, and then.
Yep, and then I had to give it back.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'd show it off right now, but I don't know.
He loaned it to you to read.
Yep.
And you haven't picked one up since.
I just bought one. And
Oh,
it's funny, like even before you messaged me about this interview, I bought Killing Joke like third print for #1 just because I needed it in my collection because the sentimental value of that, like it's like what was the first one that you read? Like what do you remember and when you were?
all I know, it was a Conan book of some sort.
Okay.
Well, Conan, Spider-Man, Hulk. It's one of those three. It's all a blur. I was like
Okay.
6 or 7.
See, and that's a hard question for both of us to answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
I remember there's the earliest one that stands out in my mind. I remember, but I know it wasn't the first one I read.
Yeah.
So that's kind of.
It took me a while to realize that one was because I had pulled like 10 books or so that I thought were the first that I read, and then I realized no, these are just the first that I bought. And like, do you want to see the first book that I bought with my own money?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So also at a convention, I'm not even sure if you've heard of this title, but Niobe, She is Death. It's from Stranger Comics at the bottom. And I was at a convention and I just saw a poster of this, like of her just towering over the convention floor. And she's holding
that's a pretty badass image.
Yeah, she's holding this blue glowing sword. And I was like, oh, wow. And I just kind of like waddled over to the booth. I was like, I like that. Can I have that? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And then I met Sebastian Jones. He is like a hustler and he is slinging his comic books. And little did I know that it all takes place in a world called Asunda. And they have an HBO deal and they're not in production, but they're in like whatever pre-production is for creating the Niobe franchise. And they tout that this is the first comic book written, drawn, and something else by everybody was black. And
okay.
it blew me away, the world that this crew, and they like their origin is like they used to play D&D together and they were LARPers, and they have a LARPing sword for Niobe that they commissioned from a really famous LARPing company. But yeah, that was my first actual purchase, and I have about 30 or so or 40 different Niobe books. There's like this whole, I just got entrenched, and that's what happens. Like
the She Is Life, the earlier series.
Yep, She Is Life, She Is Death. Untamed was their first one. It was Untamed, A Sinner's Prayer. And what's crazy is like I go into, like I'm actually like friends with him now. Like the first comic book that I bought with my own money, I am like friends with the creators, and I could message them and I call them on the phone and I talk to them. And being a fanboy, like, blew my mind. Are you kidding me? I could call up this guy and he's giving me advice on my own comic book. And this is like the first comic book that I bought. I'm just like, what is this industry? Like, it's so accepting. And it blew me away. And then I'm sitting here with you on seven and a half questions, and I it's awesome. Like the inclusivity and the just like we're all interconnected and we're just so accepting of each other. Granted, there are like some people that are not as cool or not as kind or not as honest, but it's an awesome community. And I got entrenched by all of this, and it's almost like a therapy to me. It's keeping me sane. So
I see that with a lot of people. You can tell it's got, well, a lot of people, it's got therapeutic value, and a lot of people, I think it makes them a little stir crazy and they need to take a break.
Oh yeah, very sure. We could relate to both sides of those spectrums.
Yes.
Where
so at that convention, what else? You obviously bought the Niobe book, but you can't have gone and only bought one book.
I only bought their books. And I mainly went to, before I started comic book collecting, I collected art. And when I went to conventions, I would spend the entire time in Artist Alley, supporting as many artists as I can until I ran out of money. And then I had somewhat of like some money left over. I was just like, I almost like maxed out 2 credit cards at conventions because I was just blown away by like the creativeness of it. I mean, even the comic books that we see in general, like the variant covers are all different artists and all their interpretations, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I hate buying 6 issues of a number 1 just because the cover's a little bit different. But then I
Right.
also have to have it as a completionist. But then I also think in the back of my head, I go, wait a second, let's take a step back here. I can go to Artist Alley or just reach out to the artists because we're in a pandemic, reach out to the artists online and get them to commission me something that can be mine and different than, sure, it costs a lot more money, but I mean, I'm sure that's why I noticed that you have a pretty extensive original art collection as well, where you're buying pages from comic books.
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah, I got
Sorry,
a couple.
It's a little hot. I'm gonna take this off. But yeah, it's fascinating that you can literally buy original pieces and have a piece of that kind of history in that aspect. I just think it's really cool.
It blew my mind.
Sorry, I'm gonna put this on. I got instantly cold. I go through like these hot flashes. There we go. Much better.
I feel like we're watching a Grammy performance with all these costume changes.
I needed a lame excuse, so I came out that now I'm suddenly cold. I needed another cutaway moment. My plan was to keep cutting away and be like, oh no, I stubbed my toe. And then I go and I change. So, but yeah, no, I just think supporting artists is what got me into purchasing things at conventions, because I mean, my art collection is now smaller than my comic book collection because there's so many cool stories out there. And I feel like the collectors industry, or no, just the writers industry, the art industry, every industry was forced to stay at home. And what do you do when you're at home? You either go crazy or you start churning out stuff. You start organizing things around your house. I mean, we talked about being stir crazy earlier. I mean,
start cataloging comics.
Yep. I have an album, and if you go to my Instagram, click on my link tree, I have photos of my entire collection, all my art, all my Funko Pop figures, all my collectibles, all of my comics. I took 7 pictures of every comic, and I have like this whole setup, and I just used my time. It took 4 months. Like 4 months off and on. I caught up on everything I could possibly catch up on Netflix and like streaming and Hulu and all that stuff. So I just watched a bunch of shows, consumed a bunch of content, and once I got organized, then I started reading books. Like something that people don't know. I admitted this on a late kind of stream. I do like random streams super late at night, and then I delete them, where I just rant. And I came clean. I said I had only, and this was about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I said I've only read 30 comic books in my entire life, and everybody's like, "Wait, what? Like 30 comic books, really?" And I go, "Okay, well, I gotta give some caveats. I considered every trade paperback that I read as one comic book, and then single issues I counted as like one each."
Right.
And they're like, "But you know so much about this." Like I was kind of known in like the community as like the indie comic book lover. And like I had all this indie comic book knowledge. And I'm like, "No, you guys are tripping. I've just been like bullshitting everybody." And just I would consume review shows. I was supporting everybody's review show. that like you say specifically an indie comic book, and I could tell you stuff about it, and I've never read it in my entire life, but I could tell you details about the artist. I could tell you about all that kind of stuff. My brain is like a sponge when it comes to information like that. And it's partially why I got into acting, because like memorizing lines is super, super easy. And like it's just about portraying the emotion and getting the right shot and stuff like that. So
I'm looking at your photos now.
oh yeah.
1, 2, let's see here. What camera do I switch to?
Okay, that's my single photo. When I started selling my collection, because I needed to raise money for my own comic book. I had 7 photos of every cover, and people are like, "This is too hard to look at."
What's the COA for? For which?
For the Mickey to the left. It's not for the
Okay.
Department of Truth. And then that's for the Pretty Violet. Yeah. And then they're like, "Can you just put single covers?" So I had to make a separate album. So that's all the single cover ones.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and like I said, this is the smaller album, and people go through.
Yeah, I didn't click on your
the
7
photo. Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to look at. But yeah, and then people go through, they comment on them, and they tell me which ones they're interested in. And then whenever they're interested in them, that's when I tell people that I'll just lock in your price when you're interested. If the book blows up, I take the hit. If the book goes down, I take the hit. I'm not in this to make money. I just want to make my comic book.
So, and what?
I was just taking pictures of the corners. The significance was corners and mainly focused on the cover. And if somebody wanted interior and back, they would just message me and I'd give them more. It would be too hard for me to unbag and board everything, take all the pictures, rebag and board all of it. So like this was a big enough commitment for myself.
I can't even fathom the amount of time.
Oh yeah. This was 3,000 books. I was doing about 1,000 books a month.
It's crazy.
On and off and working. So I would come home and I'd just start taking pictures of books. There's just a bunch of random stuff. Most of it's modern. And yeah, I just slowly, and then I go through and I edit the album. It's just a Google Photos album. I send the link to people. Everybody has access to my collection. I just thought it was simpler than like the CLZ is one of those apps that you can share your collection, but that takes a lot of like, these are the actual books that I have, not just like I have a copy of this.
That, I mean, that would be extremely handy for older books, where condition's a huge issue. You know, most people assume a new book is going to be near mint. You know, it's
yeah, and I inspect the books before I buy them. I'm not gonna buy something with a gash in it or that's dinged up and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's an assumption that I have high quality because it's primarily modern books. So,
yeah, I can't wrap my head around that.
But you have a pretty decent catalog of your books, right? Because I'll say a random book and you'll say, "Oh yeah, I have that. I've 15 copies of it."
Yeah, but I don't have a picture of every actual. I have a picture of every book. It's just not the actual book. It's a stock photo.
Exactly, and it's like I have a copy of this book, but like you could also, instead of going into like search through some boxes, let me see if I have that or get back to you. You just go type. Oh yeah, I have a couple copies. Like
it's in that box or this box.
Yep. Yep, and you have what box it's in. Like there's a level of your organization too. I have significantly less comics, so I was able to do a little bit more towards that. But it's still like it took a lot of time. Like it was a big investment of my time, but it was also therapeutic. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? I didn't want to live in a mess, so I organized everything, and they're all in these drawer boxes. Everything's labeled, everything's divided, everything's bagged and boarded and cataloged. So, I mean, I know where everything is, and that's part of like the constant absorption of information that kind of our culture promotes, because I mean, if you're not consuming, you're falling behind, I guess, in that aspect. Because half the stuff we do is like, hey, did you see this? Did you read that? Did you do this? Oh, blah, blah, blah said this. And you're like, oh, wow, I got to catch up. Go into your phone, go into your computer. Yep. It's tiresome. And it takes so much time. We need to learn how to just sit back and relax and enjoy things, enjoy the wind, enjoy the rain. I don't know what people's weather is like. It doesn't rain in California. But
I think there's a song to that effect too.
Yep. I
specifically Southern California, but
yep. I'm not gonna say. I want to sing, but I'm not gonna sing. But I'm singing it in my head right now. I'm a terrible singer.
I'd probably get a strike from
there
YouTube on it, so we better not.
I think it has to be accurate for this strike to occur, though. But yeah,
all right, you ready for another keyword?
Oh, keyword, cool. Let's do it. Let me get my handy dandy whiteboard.
Here's one you can have fun with.
Let's do it.
Fluff.
Oh God. I just drew a big fallopian tube. No, I'm not drawing pictures. I'm not very good at drawing either. All right, so fluff and turtle. Got it.
All right. Next question. So when it comes to your personal collection, what's your favorite age, genre, publisher, and title?
Got it. By the way, I have notes.
All right.
I like modern mainly because it's the only one that I can afford. In the aspect of I can go to the store and I can get it. And there isn't like a fear of missing out aspect to that. It reduces my FOMO because I can go to this. I can go and I know what's coming. I can go into a catalog and see what's coming out and read a description, see if it interests me. And then I just go get it. And I have a really good relationship with my LCS, like support your local comic book shops. They're what's keeping us going. I mean, before, you could torrent anything online, but I mean, support the artists, support the writers, support the editors, support the colorist, the letter, everything. But yeah, modern, it's all indie. It's almost all indie. I'd say 90% of my collection is indie. Everything that's in my closet, plus 2 of my short boxes, are all independent books. I have 4 short boxes of Marvel and 3 short boxes of DC. And I think what's the most recent what came before? Is it Bronze that came before Modern? See, I'm gonna sound like a noob talking about all this.
Yes.
I'm showing. Hey, I gotta throw this at you. I'm showing my age right now that I'm not as well versed in that kind of aspect. I got to turn the tables though. So the other part of the question was publisher, right? I've had interesting relationships with independent comic book publishers. Some you can reach out to the publisher on messenger apps and they will reply to you. And I'm just like, what? Like I'm talking to Mad Cave Studios right now, like on Instagram. And I'm just like, the heck is going out? The internet has made things so accessible and we can have these like across like the planet, like communications with people. Like
I found that out with Opus Publishing. I mean, that's one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Smaller publisher, and like just said I gotta send them a message, and figured like a week later somebody might email me or message back, but it was like 10 minutes at tops.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's awesome the fact that you could do that. And then I'm sitting in my LCS, right? And I have, like I said, I have a good relationship with them. I decided to volunteer for Free Comic Book Day. And then I just dedicated my day to helping out the shop. And like the owner came up to me, who I thought was the manager, and he goes, oh man, we couldn't have done this without you. Like you managed like all this stuff. And I go, yeah, I used to run events. Like I was in scouts for a while, and I would run like entire events. Like I went to Catalina Island. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. And they're like, go ahead, kid. I was like 16. Like you're in
Don't they
charge.
have a wine mixer there?
Right? Yeah, they do. Yeah, Catalina Wine is
Fucking Catalina wine mixer.
they uh but I was in the shop and I didn't realize like it's in Pasadena, so it's right next to LA, and there's a lot of creators that live out here. And this dude comes walking in, and he's the creator of White Ash from Scout Comics. You probably even haven't heard of it. It's really small. And he goes, I talked to him. I go, man, I love your comic White Ash, and I also love By the Horns. And By the Horns is Austin's gonna kill me. Austin's gonna kill me right now. But By the Horns is my favorite comic book, and it's also from Scout. So I'd have to say that Scout Comics is my favorite publisher. And I talked to him, who is the co-publisher, and I go, hey, I really like what you guys do as a company. I have a comic book that I'm creating. I'm not sure if you can like point me in the right direction. And he goes, here, take my card. Email me. Where are you in the process? First off, and then I told him, and then he goes, when you get a little bit closer, send me an email, and we'll see what we can do. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like helping out for volunteering for my LCS just turned into like a business opportunity for my future. And like other creators that were there, I started asking them, I'm like, why are you guys even at this LCS? It's like a small comic book shop. And they go, we just like the owner. We like the people who work here. Like it's a community. And they've been so nice to us. So we're just extending the nicety back. And they had some like big time, like mainly Marvel creators that showed up. And I was just like, wow, I didn't know. I had to like Google everybody. And like I walk up to them and I go, hi, you're blah, blah, blah. And you did this. And I hope you're not offended that I just Googled your name, but I'd like to talk to you. I try to keep things genuine in that aspect. Like I'm not going to just like pretend, I guess, even though in the beginning of this interview, I told you that I've been pretending to know a bunch of comic books. I'm a bit of a contradiction in that aspect. But with Scout Comics, going back to your question, I had like this whole like fiasco with them. With they had like this promo sale, and this will be a short story. I'm sorry to keep rambling, but they had this promo sale, and they didn't say what time it ended, but they said what day it ended. And I was like cutting it to the wire. I was at like 10:37, the day that it ended at night. And I'm like going through figuring out what titles, because they have like a bunch of titles, and figuring out which ones I liked, adding them to my cart, added like 17 items. And then I go in to add the promo code, and then it says expired. And then I immediately reach out to Scout and I go, hey, like you guys never said anything about like the time that the code expired. Like I spent 2 hours going through your website, picking out cool stuff that I wanted to support. And they get back to me with like this generic response. And then I was like, wait a second. No. I was trying to support 17 different titles. Like there should be like some kind of respect to this. And in my head, I'm like, I have like this prospect of getting like my book. Why would I want to send my book to a company that like doesn't handle like the consumer? And then they like, it's like almost something snapped. And I wasn't talking to a bot. I was talking to a real person. They're like, we're so sorry. Like we looked back, we checked, we didn't put any time that it was supposed to end. It's on us. Here's a promo code, one-time use, buy whatever you want, and whenever you want. And I'm like, awesome. Like they went from like, I was questioning, like wanting to work with them, because like they were my favorite publisher. They had my favorite book. I supported like the first interview on my channel was the artist of By the Horns, and they handled the situation properly. And I was like,
Yeah.
Heck yeah, I'm back on board. Scout Comics is my favorite, but like with independent, with picking your favorite independent publisher, I feel like it's at a disadvantage because most people that answer that question probably say Marvel or DC, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah, for the most part.
So they're picking between two. But when I
say the top two.
Yeah, when I say independent, I have to pick between like 50 different publishers. And that's like of the ones that are around and active right now. You could go back later and like Kitchen Sink and pick out those kind of publishers. Like the A+ Comics. There's some random books out there.
Go back to Dell or Gold Key or
yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to
I'd pick Dell. But
okay. Dell had some, they had decent books. I just wanted to shout out a couple others because I think Vault is up there. Like Scout takes they don't have many liberties. Like they just let you do what you want. And then Vault takes these stories and they're just like crazy storytelling and off the wall. Like they have I Walk with Monsters, which is a masterclass in character development through issue 4. It's a 6-issue miniseries, but issues 1 through 4, if you want to know how to do a character development, like read by the horns, because they develop the crap out of those characters. And then 5 and 6, they kind of didn't stick the landing. But issues 1 through 4 crushed it. And then there's Barbaric, also from Vault, which was super fun, like super fun concept. It's only a 3-issue miniseries, and that's kind of why I like independence, is because they can tell like a short story. These Savage Shores by Ron V. They can tell short stories and they end. Where when it comes to like the big 2 publishers, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this vernacular before, that they have artist turnover, they have writer turnover. They kill off characters and have to bring them back. Like these stories, they just straight up end, and that's all that there is. And then there's 2 more that I want to shout out. Aftershock Comics, who do Bunny Mask, who I'm actually
what's that one?
Aftershock Comics and Bunny Mask.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Wait, really? Okay. Were you familiar with I Walk with Monsters or Barbaric?
No, I haven't heard of any of them. Obviously, I've heard of Bunny Mask, but
okay, gotcha. Thank you. Oh, wait a second. You own the first page of Bunny Mask. I thought I was supposed to be throwing the curveballs. Wow, you just okay. I don't have to show you Bunny Mask. You've already seen it. You probably already have that too. We Live is also a good story.
No, show it because I'm sure there's some people watching that haven't.
Oh, I just wanted to shout out the artist of this particular cover. His name is Mike Ruth, and he's a Canadian artist, and this is his sketchbook. Still good for something. And inside this sketchbook, he draws with like random things that he either finds in his yard, finds on his street. Like he drew with a feather, a rock, a piece of charcoal, and he's drawing. I'm gonna open it up. You have to see this. He's drawing these fantastical.
Was this the cover you just showed?
Yes, that was. Did yours? Okay, now I had like a bone to pick. I have 2 of them, and they both showed up damaged. And Aftershock actually released a statement on their most recent post saying, "We are working on improving our shipping processes because multiple people have reached out to us and said that they got damaged products." And I'm literally...
Actually, I never looked at it before that closely, but yeah, the top corner is a little crunched on.
Yep. So I have top left corner is crunched on this one.
And I mean, I have to look, but it's definitely there. Yeah.
This one's on the bottom. You see that? Like, that's not even straight. And I messaged them about it. I go, first off, there's a tear in this cover and the bottom's completely smashed. And they just released a statement saying, we acknowledge that we've done this. We've done some overhaul, and we're going to have better shipping going forward. So they're very
I'm going to have to bitch and make sure I can get in on this class action lawsuit that's going on.
Like I said, I have 2 covers and they're both damaged. And I literally gave up. I sent them one more email and I go, listen, like I I understand that you just sent me a free book, but it's also damaged, and I just want nothing to do with it. And I'm not sitting here like bashing Aftershock.
Oh, so they sent you another book when you
They
said
sent me another
first...
book. My first one was torn, like literally
Oh,
the cover's torn, the bottom's smashed, and I was like, if there's one thing wrong with it, that's fine. And then they send me another one, and the corner's dinged, and it's like 2 of the corners are dinged, and there's like an indentation in the top left. I'm like, what the heck is happening?
right. So I ordered 2.
That's where my ding is too. Yeah, same location.
I mean, it's there just barely. This one's a little bit more, but it's still...
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
I mean, it's not... I had to look to find it. I never wouldn't have even noticed it if you wouldn't have
Dang it.
said that. But I ordered 2.
I thought you were going to give me more time. I was mid costume change.
I have to remember.
Right, the nostalgia factor's gone, but I'm doing it anyways. All right, now I got my Hufflepuff jacket on. But I wanted to show off this art. So the artist of that is Mike Ruth, and this is his sketchbook. And I think that everybody should be inclined on seeing this stuff.
Oh,
like this is phenomenal. And then in the bottom, he'll say what he did it on. So the one brake light. Okay. Both of these are drawn with brake light. He took a brake light out of his car and he drew with ink on paper with a brake light as his paintbrush or whatever, his pencil or pen or marker. Like it's incredible. He used like an acorn for one of them. And he's based in Canada. This one was drawn with a pine cone, and this one was drawn with a rotten wild pear. So pine cone. Whoops.
Wait, which one was drawn with the pine cone?
Hold on, I gotta find the page again. I just missed my. I lost my page. There's so many of them. Here, we'll do this one. Hellboy's drawn with a seed pod, and then drawn with a feather on this side is drawn with a feather. Like these are incredible.
I love sketchbooks. I mean, there's so many artists that put out a sketchbook every year.
All right, so pine cone right here.
All right.
And then right here is an old rotten pear for the Rorschach. Like that's like what? And he did an interview when they were selling the Bunny Mask exclusive cover, and I just brought it up in the chat. I go, wait a second, I have your sketchbook. And then he talked about it on live, and he's like, oh yeah, like I just take random things that I found like in the street or like a feather that fell off a bird, and I just go in my studio and start drawing and see what kind of lines it did. And they're all intricate and all different, and that's why I support artists. And then the last company I want to talk about is like an honorable mention is Behemoth. And Behemoth, this is Osaka Mime. It's a basically a graphic novel about, it's black and white. It's about a detective in Japan who's trying to find this mime who assumes the identities of other people. And Behemoth has no rules at all. Like if you read MFKZ or Freak Snow, like they take so many liberties with the story, and like they break all the conventional panel layouts and lettering. Like it's like the scratchiest book I've ever seen, but it's also the wildest book I've ever seen. Freak Snow, that is. And I'm just like, they are just going for it. You Promised Me Darkness.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Title. Yeah, it's a good like it just breaks all the conventions that you thought were like there needs to be like paneling, but like there like hardly is any paneling, and your letters need to be in word bubbles and concise, and they're not. They're scratched across the entire page, and I'm just like, what the heck is going on in this story? But yeah, so yeah, Scout Comics is definitely my favorite going back to the question. And then By the Horns is my favorite book. And then I got this one remarked by the artist. He did a remark in the, what's that, top left. And this character is it's really fun. And they do cool things. They had a drinking horn that they gave with one of the comic books. And then this cover came with a vinyl that had like a couple songs that were related to the book from, it's like Arctic something was the name of the band. But if you like do some research on the writer of By the Horns, he is like this metalhead that looks like he should be in a biker gang. And then the artist, if you go to my channel and see the artist, he is like this bubbly dude that is like super like straight edged and like, at least in my opinion, like straight edged and like very polite and courteous. And like I really put him through the ringer through an interview where I was just like insulting him. I just had to yell something to somebody trying to come in.
Oh.
And then White Ash is this is Galarian, and I love when covers actually portray what's happening inside the comic book. And this happens in the comic book. She's like bathing, and then these guys are coming to attack her, and she leaps out with 2 swords and just attacks the dudes. And White Ash is it's like a normal story about a mining town, but there's elves and dwarves, and it's just really fun. But yeah, I keep going. I've one more. I have one more book to show, I guess. I'm Shadecraft.
Yep.
I only picked this up mainly because it was signed on the shelf. Because the writer just so happens to like the comic book shop too, and he just cruised on by. He's like, "Hey, let me sign all the copies that are on the shelves," and they're like, "Okay, cool, go for it." And then they signed them, and they were damaged in the box, but I don't care. I get a cover price damaged signed book by a show that was already optioned, and like for a show to be optioned before it even like hits the shelves is really cool in that aspect, like from a production standpoint. Or like if something goes to like a third print and it barely hit the shelves, like that there's some buzz behind it. Granted, a book getting optioned doesn't mean crap. All it is like it makes a $5 book become a $10-15 book through the reseller market, and it kind of ticks me off. But at the same time, like it's nice to see that these creators of comic books are landing $50,000 option deals for their content. And it's just, it's awesome to know that like our community can foster that kind of promotion in that aspect.
So if you could only pick one of those publishers, which would it be?
Scout. It has to be. They took it like a problem that I had with them, and they handled it perfectly. And they have 2 titles that are on my top 25 list that I absolutely love. And one of them being number 1 and By the Horns. And like all those covers up there are all By the Horns variants. I can actually let it focus on that too. But yeah, no, Scout for sure takes the crown for my favorite publisher amongst the many publishers that everybody should go look at, or at least take a look at it.
All the
take
indies,
a look at different ones.
I agree.
Or don't look at any of them and wait for me to produce my top 25 video and then look at the ones that I promote, because I get paid by every single one of them. No,
you get paid in kindness.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason that I could reach out to people, and like you'd be surprised how much every industry is who you know. Like my acting career was like 80% who I know, because like I had a casting director that was just pushing me, just keep on going, like go out for this. Like I walked into an audition once, and I was the only white dude there, and I go, what the heck's going on? And I look at the casting, and it like asks for like an ethnically diverse person, and I'm looking around the room, and I go, well, it's not me. But then the casting director's like, I'm throwing you in there. I don't care what this says. You're gonna go for it. And I got a call back for it. I didn't actually get the part, but like I had people pushing for me. and people that wanted me to succeed. And it's refreshing in that aspect. So go out and support different titles, different artists, whatever you like. The indie comic book industry is like all about randomness and relating to specific niches. Like Something Is Killing the Children is like a super niche book, in my opinion. It relates to like a very small audience, but then it just exploded. And I'm just like, wow, that's amazing that something can do something like that. And I'm just such a fan of people relating to certain topics. And I relate to this girl who's struggling to kill all these unicorns. So yeah. Yeah, that felt nice. Nice little moment. I'm gonna absorb that moment.
So, do you have a collectible on any level, whether it's comic or something else, something that got away, something you wish you would have got, and for some reason you didn't?
This was the hardest question for me to answer. My answer to the question is no. My answer to the question is no. And it's not because like I was showered with stuff and I got everything that I wanted. It's because I've always found something to replace that desire. And a lot of the times the thing that I replaced it with was something better. And I stumble across something that I like even more. And I may have just been playing into the hype of something. And that's why I wanted it so bad, because it was like a high dollar amount. And I'm like, I'm a Scroll fan. They're like, I read Scroll Kill Crew. Not sure if you're familiar with that miniseries. Nope. It's like the first issue is like, it has a gun and it's just pointing at the Scroll's head, and it said, read this book or we kill this Scroll. And then they crossed out or and put and we kill this Scroll. So they're gonna shoot the Scroll no matter what. And the second issue had a guest appearing Captain America against his will. And like they were just trolling on like the fact that like in Fantastic Four #2, Skrulls were convinced that they were cows, and that's how the Fantastic Four beat them. Just like you're now cows, and you're gonna always think that you're cows. So they've just been like I consider myself a troll in chats. I'm just out trying to have a good laugh and try to have a good time and get some kind of entertainment value from something. And they're like the trolls of Marvel Comics, and I love them for that. But that doesn't mean that I need their first appearance. I don't need a Fantastic Four #2, which is like a $2,000 book. So yeah, to answer your question, no, I don't think anything's escaped me in that aspect, because I don't hold value to those things. And I look for more of sentiment. And usually the things that I like are so niche that I just go and get them. Because that's just kind of what I like, is like the random and the fun. I have a book called Chainsaw Vigilante. And it's like it says an 80-page bonanza, and it has this guy with a chainsaw just jumping into action, and you just see like his nutsack just like front and center. And it's like very pronounced. I'm like, what the heck is going on in this book? And it's just a fun, troll happy book. So yeah, my answer is no.
Okay. Is there anything you regret picking up?
Oh yeah, right here. I buy into hype. I pick up this is Venom #1. What is it?
And I can just tell that's Clayton Crane's signature.
Yep. So Clayton Crane, he didn't do any like fancy like rainbow signature or anything. The End, that's what it's called. COA signed. I paid like $280 for this, and I'm like, man, I know nothing of Venom. Why did I even buy this? And then I like the whole story behind it was I bought it from somebody who like they they purchased it to help somebody raise money for their dog who was sick. And they needed to sell a comic book, which I think if you can sell a comic book and pay a bill, that is magical. That's absolutely phenomenal. Like they sold this comic book so that they could get their sick dog taken care of at the veterinarian hospital. And then the guy who sold it to me was like, I don't really want this. I'm not into it. And I go, well, I'll take the burden. And like, I've regretted it because I have no attachment to this character. I don't even like collect Marvel. But it still has like a story behind it where like I felt like what I did was like the right thing in taking that burden. But I do regret buying it because it was a high dollar amount, and money's tight in these times.
That's what liquid assets are for, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So have you tried to move it?
Not actively. I just kind of show it off. If somebody wants to like take that burden from me, I'm perfectly fine with just making back what I paid for it. I mean, I sell books. If I make like a couple dollars off a book, that means that I'm a couple dollars closer to the creation of my comic book. So like when I sell like bigger books that are over $100, I'll tell people I paid this much for it. Will you give me like $5 to $10 more? So I'd ask like $290 to $300 for that. And if somebody does, then I get $10 towards my comic book and I get that initial investment back. And yeah, it's not smart. I mean, it's not like, I think the most recent sold was like $380 or something like that. But then you can't really gauge. I hate it how people gauge the market on eBay most recently sold, because
Right.
that can be manipulated. And I could personally actively manipulate that market. All you need is 2 accounts. You sell something that for just like an astronomical price, but you sell it to yourself, who is the other account. So you only lose, 15% eBay seller fee and then 10 to 15% tax and shipping. You don't have to ship it because you ship it to yourself. And then that drives the market up. And then you have 15 copies of that book and you could sell it for like $100 under what you sold. And you make a bunch of money.
Sounds like you went to the Heritage Auction School of Market Manipulation.
There you go. Yep. Nice little, I would never do that, but like, it's so blatant. And like,
yeah,
you have to be blind to it. Like you have to ignore it in that aspect. Cause like I jumped into this industry from like the YouTube auction community. That's where I bought this. That's where I bought a lot of my books and how I met all of you. And it just kind of transformed more into like a community thing. And I got more and more entrenched in it. But I saw these things and I go, I'm not blind to these aspects. Like these guys there's some people that are dishonest out there that are price gouging. And it's a shame to see it. But at the same time, we as a collective can set the prices. That's what collectors do.
Right. It's not really shill bidding. So because you're actually, when you're selling it to yourself, you actually are incurring fees. It's costing you. Now, when you're doing it on eBay, I guess that's because you're selling your own item to yourself. So that's technically not cool. But like, I guess what Heritage is doing, where it's the owner is buying somebody else's item that they're auctioning, but he's doing it, could be doing it to manipulate the market.
Correct.
I mean, he's still paying real money for it.
Yep.
And the money's still going to whoever the original owner was.
Correct. But if that money is changing the same hands and they're related, then you're driving up the market value of your book.
And I haven't heard. Maybe he's waiving the heritage fee.
There you go. Yeah, there it is.
the 35% commission or whatever it is.
Right. Yep.
So that would technically be an unfair advantage for him. But
yeah, exactly. I'm a car guy too. I've seen it at auto auctions, where like they'll waive the like, oh no, I'll just pay like less of my seller's commission or less of my buyer's commission, and they'll meet somewhere in the middle just to make the numbers match up. And I'm like, wow, that's some blatant price manipulation, and nobody's saying anything about it. But like I said,
also it's called the Good Old Boys Club.
Yep, there you go. But we can weed that out because people talk to each other. We have these we have these conversations, and if anybody watches this video, there you go. Now you know a different thing to make sure that you don't get taken advantage of. And hopefully you have the morals not to do it. So
Ready for another keyword?
Yep, I was just thinking it.
All right. This may not be an actual word. I don't know.
That's fine.
We're going to use it as one.
We're not playing Scrabble.
Purplish.
Ooh, okay.
Purplish.
Only ish.
That's kind of your favorite color.
Kind of my favorite color. Yeah, that's right. My favorite color is turquoise. Because
that's nowhere close to purple.
Yeah, not at all, actually. But I used to fight over the turquoise crayon, the Crayola crayon, in elementary school.
Did they taste better?
The yellow probably tasted the best out of the box, but
like banana or lemon.
Oh no, like disgusting, like very pH, like high pH, like an alkaline taste, but like yeah, it's pretty bad. Yes, I've eaten crowns.
All right, now for my favorite question.
Okay.
Who are your favorite artists?
Oh, good. Okay, that's why I have my phone. Okay, so my favorite artist. Oh. Now I'm glad that like there's so much overlap in art and comics and all of this industry. So let me grab my favorite artist, who I have a print of. It's a little big, and I'm sure you've seen it. When I first started doing YouTube videos, I put this behind me.
Yes, I do remember.
So, 007 Stormtrooper. And his name's Daniel James. James spelled Jaimes. And he is a dot paint, like he's a dot artist where one dot at a time. Yes, thank you. I never went to art school. He says that it takes
me either. I just paid attention in art class, art history.
I did pay attention in art history, but I was more fascinated in like deco paintings and oil paintings and that aspect, and like all the stuff that came out of like Italy and France, like the just all the art that but then never mind. I'm not going to get too much into that.
Go ahead and throw that one back up again.
Yeah, it's hard to show it all because my camera zooms
it's a big
in so much.
big piece.
But he has a rebel tattoo, and the inspiration behind it was who was that? Craig something, who was a 007.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, yeah. So he was in the Star Wars film as a background stormtrooper, and that was the inspiration behind this. So 007
I just found that out, I think, today, literally.
Oh, no way.
Like a random factoid popped up on my computer. Like, how did Daniel Craig make it into a cameo Star Wars role or something like that?
Yep. He was
That's so odd.
He was a stormtrooper, and that was the inspiration for that art. And I bumped into him, and I go, man, I love this piece. Like, do you sell, like, are you selling like the original one? And he goes, yeah. And he showed it to me, and it had like a price tag of like, it's like $3,600. And I was like, do you have any like prints, like canvas prints? And he goes, yeah, I have one that's art up in an art exhibit down the street. After this, that's San Diego Comic-Con, by the way. And after the con, I could just have them grab it off the wall and then bring it to you. And then I go, oh, cool. And then we end up meeting up, and he charged me, it was like $300, and he charged me $30 because he was doing it on like his app. And I go, man, I could just like accept the payment, take the painting and walk away. And I'm like, come on, dude, like this says $30, like add an extra zero. And he goes, oh shoot, sorry, man. Like, and then he does it, and we ended up becoming friends. And I actually, my girlfriend, my most recent girlfriend, we met at San Diego Comic-Con, and the second we met at the Freaky Tiki Sneaky Ukulele Play and Sing Along panel at San Diego Comic-Con, where they give you a ukulele and you sing a lot of Lord of the Rings songs, actually.
Yeah, count me out.
It was fun. We have kazoos. Count
me out twice.
the next day, I see her and we're like messaging. Like we had stayed up and seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show live at like midnight, where they do the showing and like you throw toilet paper and stuff like that. And it's like this whole big fiasco. And there's a lot of detail to the story. Uh, I message her and she goes, "Oh, I'm in Artist Alley." And I go, oh, "Okay, cool." And then I see her, and lo and behold, she's standing at Daniel James's booth, who I'd purchased this art print from. And I walk up to her, and then Daniel goes, "Oh, hey, Kyle." And then she goes, "Holy crap, you know him?" And she like had like a bunch of his prints in her hand that she had just purchased, and we bonded over that too, and it was awesome. And it was a good sentimental moment for me. And he's been my favorite artist ever since. He's just such a good guy. He has Daniel James Art or Daniel Art SD. Daniel SD Art is his Instagram handle.
So was that the only print he had at the time, or?
Yeah, it was. He does like print on demand. He's not like a big artist or anything.
Okay.
He doesn't do any like. He just shows up at conventions. He started to get into San Diego Comic-Con. It's really like competitive. So you have to start at like WonderCon in LA, and then WonderCon is linked to San Diego Comic-Con, and that's kind of how artists show up and how people get booths. They start through that kind of channels. Yeah, he's my favorite artist. And there's a cool story behind it. I have a lot of like.
So does he do any comic work, or is he strictly more of a gallery type artist?
Yeah, he's definitely a gallery type artist, but all his stuff is comic inspired. Like,
okay,
and he does commissions, and like, I wish that he would get, but like, he's not like an interior artist. I think the best that he'd do is like a cover, but it wouldn't really print really nice because of his pointillism. But yeah, there is an opportunity. But I love collecting art. I have tons of art. But I have like a whole stack of it, and I would just pick up stuff that related to me, but it was mostly video game stuff. I'm kind of a video game nerd. Actually, after this interview, I'm going to do a video game tournament for online. It's called League of Legends. It's kind of a dorky game. I don't like admitting it.
Heard of it. I think I may have saw somebody play it once, but
it's been around for a while, but it also has like a really toxic community, and a lot of the gaming communities, like people just talk crap to each other, and it's really sad. And then
wasn't that one of the first games that had like $1 million tournaments?
They were known for paying the professional players like multi-million-dollar contracts.
Yeah.
And that was like unheard of in esports. But yeah, they take it really seriously, and like they're going into their biggest tournament of the year right now too. But yeah, I love video game stuff. Like I played a lot of Overwatch. I started like super early. Like I played like, I have my emulator for Super Nintendo. I have like three. You can load 300 games on this bad boy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know how much space that saves? Because like I have the original cartridges and I have like an original one, but like that's my flex. But it's so cool that technology has made it just so much easier to have your nostalgia factor. Like we have an arcade game that we loaded like Dig Dug, Galaga, Pac-Man, like all of these like old games onto like an arcade console, and we have it sitting in our living room, and we watch TV and play arcade games. My mom's playing Galaga right now. So
I remember buying an Atari emulator it was literally a joystick, an old Atari joystick that had like 100 Atari games loaded on it. And you just ran your HDMI cable out of it, power out of it, plugged it in,
and now you have wireless like controllers that you could like sit on your couch and do it from like just like at least 15 feet or so.
So what else you got in the way of art?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to ask. So I wouldn't be a Niobe fan if I didn't have Niobe art. So this is Niobe, and then this is the Stranger. who he in the original series he had 7 days to avenge 7 souls so that he could save his own soul, and it's this whole quest. But lo and behold, she was one of the souls he had to avenge, and obviously he didn't choose to kill her. So now they're fighting evil. But yeah, this is my other canvas print, and they were nice enough to sign it. I'm not sure. Do you like signatures? I know a lot of people. It's kind of a polarizing thing.
I actually like signatures, autographs. I'm not big into personalization on items.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
Like, make this out to Scott.
yeah.
Like okay. It's cool to have.
I've had a couple made when I was giving gifts to people.
Okay.
And I like, oh, it'd be cool, you know, especially when it was something I knew the person I'd giving it to had no idea what I was giving them, you know.
Nice. Yeah,
but,
yeah. You gave something really awesome to Carlito, and he was just so astonished. I think you triggered something in him that he like needs to collect original art now.
I think the fire's been lit. Yeah.
Yep. But let me show you this. A lot of art that I purchase from like Comic Cons and stuff, it's more of like it evoked some emotion out of me, and like this. I don't know. You have somebody sitting in a lawn chair while there's a just explosion behind her, but she doesn't care about the explosion. Like there's so much chaos going around, but you're sitting looking at something else. You're off in the distance.
Do they have earbuds in?
No, she has earrings. No,
I thought maybe like she was, you know, zoned out because she was listening to music or something.
No, she's just zoned out in general, like not paying attention to the.
So what is that from?
It's not from anything. It's just a random artist. I am Barella.
And this is from Comic-Con?
Yeah, just a random artist sitting in an artist alley, had this up on the wall, and I go,
from San Diego or from another Comic-Con?
San Diego. Most of my ones that I go to, I either go to San Diego, LA, or Anaheim, because they're all drivable for me. I've never flown to a convention, even though we're all gearing up for like Detroit and Chicago and all those conventions. Here's another larger piece that when I saw it, I was just like, I have to have it because it was so spooky, and they only used 2 colors. It was like black and pink. Meet in secret, speak in code.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's just like this broken down room, and there's a second part to it. They go side by side. I just haven't found like a frame that's big enough to.
Those are big. You need lots of real estate.
Yeah, exactly. And then where do you put it on your wall? And then the other part of the room has this creepy person standing on the staircase.
Okay.
It's just weird. It made me feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, that artist made me feel uncomfortable just standing. What the heck is going on? Jeez. That artist made me feel uncomfortable standing there. And I was just like taken back by it. But yeah, when somebody evokes emotion from me, I'm gonna pick their stuff up. Just because it's that cool. Like I saw a watercolor artist on a convention floor. Best watercolor artist I've ever seen. But his prices, like I feel like he knew, and his prices were so dang high, and I couldn't afford what he had. But I just took the time and I go, hey, you're the best watercolor artist I've ever seen. I can't afford what you have, but I just wanted to show the appreciation. Like I'm sure you hear it. And then I love commissioning people for things. And my next cosplay is going to be Clown Hunter. So there we go.
There we go. And what artist is that?
This is some random guy on Instagram.
A lot of good people out there.
Yep. His name's Demetrius Harris. He actually got taken advantage of by one of these YouTube auction
I remember you telling that story. Yes.
Yep. And I I said the only way that I could repay you, I can't fix the wrong that was done to you, but you're an awesome artist and I could support you. And if you draw something that I like, I'm gonna pay for it. So and he crushed it. And I actually got him going back to Stranger Comics. He was a big fan. He goes, "Hey, I hear that you know Sebastian." And like I said, like this industry is like 80% who you know. And I go, "Yeah, I'll reach out to him." And Sebastian ended up calling me and saying, "Hey, I heard this guy got taken advantage of. What if we do like a little fundraiser for him?" I go, No, that's not what he wants. What he wants is a shot as an artist. So he actually brought him on to do a variant cover to one of his books and just gave him a chance. And that's all he wanted in the end. And it was really cool to have that happen. So that's all the art that I had prepared. I have a lot more, but I just wanted to show off those things because my points were if it evokes emotion, if it has meaning behind it, or if I genuinely love it. So
Now how do you store all your art?
I built like a container on the wall that has like slip cases, and I just slide everything in there. But it's tough because like these large things, I have to keep them rolled and safely stored. I keep them like under my bed because I haven't found wall space for them. But yeah, I have like this. It's kind of a creative pull-out cabinet that pushes into the wall because it's all paper, and it pushes together, and then it expands out, and then you just kind of pick out which ones you want.
I always thought it would be neat to do something like if you remember Spencer Gift used to have the where you leaf through the posters.
That would
just
be
something
awesome.
like that to put all your art in. Just as
Yep. Then you have one big space, but like you have to. The sizing is what stopped me from doing that because I have stuff that's massive, and then I have stuff that's like 8x10. So like, and it's tough to like store all that in that aspect. But I keep everything safe. The only thing that I have rolled up is this giant thing, but everything else is flat and safe.
Yeah, I mean, if you measure it out, I know Itoya makes binder up to 18x24.
Okay.
How
do you spell Itoya?
When you get above that, then then you have to really get creative. But I always keep that 18x24 around just for whenever I get something oversized like those.
Okay, Itoya art portfolio. Cool.
Yep.
There we go. We both learned something. Thank you very much.
So do you have any published work? Any published artwork?
What do you mean? Like original?
Like something that's been in a pin-up in a book or a page from a book or
nope.
Just all commissions and
just stuff that makes me feel something. But then, I mean, I've reached out to artists. I like commissioning things in that aspect. Like then I have I get like a little bit of a say in the creative process, even though most of the time it's like, here's what I like. I love your art. Do something creative with it. The only other thing is there's this guy on Instagram. His name's Pascal Campion. And his art, it's very rudimentary art, but not like rudimentary, but it's like very simplistic art. But he's so good at telling stories that I'm just like absolutely blown away by like, it's just like so real and so raw. I can't get enough of it. Let me, if I could do anything, I could promote this guy because he deserves like so much credit. Pascal Campion art. And he has this running story of this man and a cat. And it's super simple to go through, but it's endless. It's like the story is just so awesome, and like the cat
is it like, the cat came back?
No.
Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not. The cat came back. What's that?
It was an old video short from probably the 80s about a man and a cat.
Okay, I'll check it out. The cat came back.
Little sing-songy, cartoonish.
Okay. The cat came back. Cool. Yeah. No, I love the last interview I did on my channel. We talked about fan art, and I just went around the room and I go, "Do you have any fan art you want to share?" And I just have like this litany of fan arts that I get to look at and share out with people, and I just linked everything in the description. Uh, next on the list is the cat came back. Awesome. That's just so cool because like the sharing of that information is very, very heartening. So what's up? Where are we at?
What do you collect besides comic books and comic book related things? This question actually had me worried.
Why is that?
You never know what you're going to pull out.
Yes, and I do. This is one of the twists, by the way. If I'm gonna put any kind of, I like fig pins. I had to sell most of mine though, because they all picked up in value, and it all went into a separate bank. I'm putting everything that I sell into a separate bank account to fund my comic book. But I'm kind of a Disney nut. So like I like these enamel pins that have like different Disney characters on them. I'm big into Funko Pops, which I mentioned earlier. This is the Superman Action Comics 1.
I have exactly one.
Yep. I purchased 4 and they only sent me 1.
Oh. You purchased 4 of those?
Yeah, and I don't
that,
normally
that exact one?
That exact one. I don't normally purchase like duplicates of stuff, but I thought it'd be so cool because I thought it'd be cool to have like different reprints of the Action Comics and then have the pop to also go with it. And then going off my video game nerd stuff, this is a game called Borderlands. I just love that kind of stuff. And then the last pop that I'll show is just some anime love. I'm just pops are cool in the aspect of they touch on every little bit of pop culture, anything you could think of. Like I have a Romeo and Juliet pop for Shakespeare. I have a Corey from Boy Meets World. Like it's just like the weirdest stuff that you can think of.
There's a pop for everything. No, yep. That's cool.
This is also it almost beat out the Clayton Crane for a regrettable purchase. It's awesome, and they have like an actual gem on her neck, and they're limited to what is it? Limited. I love buying limited stuff. There's something about it's like an itch that I can't like satiate. Like when something is only like it's like 1 of 200. Oh, that's what this is. 1 of 200. I'm number 49 out of 200. I'm exploring the philosophy behind or the psychology behind that. And it just has me perplexed.
That's because it means you're in the exclusive club now.
Yeah, and it's like, but why does it mean that much is what I'm trying to figure out. Just more video game stuff. I love video game figurines and that kind of aspect. What else? I collect every time I go to San Diego Comic-Con, I pick up the Nixon watches. They're all Star Wars related. There's a Chewbacca one. This is the Darth Vader one. There's like all kinds of different like.
I did the same thing in Vegas with the Star Trek exhibit at the.
Okay.
I would pick up the Star Trek pocket watches.
Oh,
so
nice.
every time I'd go, I'd buy another pocket watch.
Okay, right up the alley. Yours are Star Trek pocket watches. Mine are Star Wars wristwatches. This is the Boba Fett one. That's awesome. And where'd you say you went to?
There was a Star Trek experience at the MGM.
Okay.
Actually, no, not the MGM. It was at the Hilton.
Okay. Also in Vegas, though.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Like I said, I'm a Disney nerd. I recently got kind of mad at Disney when I went to the most recent D23, and I noticed that they're just kind of like alienating their fans, and they're kind of cash grabbing, and it's kind of annoying me. But at the same time, like the nostalgia factor for like their older stuff, it's like when somebody gets canceled in this cancel culture lifestyle that we live in, you uh, you can like where do you draw the line personally? Do you still accept their awesome creativity that they had before they did their like act that got them canceled, or do you just cut them off entirely? Do you like I it's just it's a trivial factor, and then I get like,
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. It's like, yeah, he was a hell of an actor, but man, he's a pedophile. So
yeah,
you know,
but like,
do I still enjoy all the movies he used to do, or do you sit there the whole time watching and going, I can't believe he was a pedophile?
yeah, and like if there was
I
like
mean,
a
that's an
time frame
extreme,
that he did it,
obviously, because people get canceled for way less.
yeah.
That's something that probably deserves to get a person canceled.
Correct.
But
Well, yeah. I'm like obviously, but like in that aspect, where is that? So if we're gonna be so active in canceling people, where is that line drawn, or is it just gray line? Because some people get canceled. Like there's this one actor, he was in. I always forget his name. He was in The Man from Uncle. He played across from the guy that played Superman. I don't know famous people, but he was like very well known for having a foot fetish, and he got canceled by his old girlfriend coming out and saying that like he made her do weird things with her feet. But like he's like, yeah, but they were consensual, and everybody knows that I'm into feet. Like I'm very open about that, and it's just kind of crappy that like somebody can't even embrace who they are and they get canceled. I just
yeah, Robert Vaughn is the only one I remember from that.
okay.
But
Who's the guy that played the most recent Superman? He's like
uh,
a very bland actor, in my opinion.
it was Henry Cavill.
Yes, yeah, he played the other super spy in The Man from Uncle. And then here's my curveball. My first collection were rocks.
Oh, so you're talking about the remake of the Man from, not the original.
The remake from The Man from Uncle.
Okay, I thought you were going to the original series from the '60s.
I have seen it, and it's also awesome. But no, I just
Okay,
remembered this is
I
the most
didn't.
recent movie.
I completely forgot they did a remake of it, which I never saw. Oh,
I just remember that because that was the movie that he was in. I was rather excited. It was like one of those where you like get excited for the movie, and then you have to like adjust your expectations, and that comes with anything. You get too hyped for a movie, and you're like, "Oh man,
yeah.
like that didn't meet my expectations, so it must have sucked." Or like if you go into a movie and you're like, "This is going to be terrible," like this is something that you need to watch while you're high.
I
And
haven't seen it yet, but that's what it sounds like is the case for the new Venom movie.
yeah, and it's just so crappy that like that's how we measure whether it's good or not, because based off the expectations that we have, and our expectations as fans are like we've read all of the background and all of the intricacies of the storyline, and the movie always seems to fall short. I mean, same with novels. Like Harry Potter fell short to people who read the novels. Twilight fell short to people who read the models or novels. Lord of the Rings, like countless. They're like, oh well, they missed out on this. Ready Player One. Like I've heard all of that backlash.
So what's up with the rocks?
I've collected rocks. Like this was my first collection. I just randomly pick up rocks and I collect them. And it's just like a bunch of rocks. I collect sticks too. I think my dad may have thrown away my stick collection because they were just a box full of sticks. And he's like, this is, or we might have like burned them in kindling, and that's also kind of sad. But no, I love different rocks, like sedimentary rocks, any kind of like different granites, like elements, like every kind of different rocks. I have a whole box of rocks, and I've collected these since I was a little kid. And then I got some like historic rocks. And
yeah, I was a rock
fossils.
hound when I was a kid.
Yeah, and then I have phosphorescent rocks too. Like I got some random fossils and then little descriptions of like what they are. just all kinds of stuff. Some fossil algae, old prehistoric shark teeth, dinosaur bones. Like I have whatever you can think of, and I just slowly collected them all. So yeah, any kind of little tiny fossils and rocks. I mean, granite is really prevalent on our planet. Like there is you. Did you ever hear the story of the largest piece of granite that was put into a museum? It cost them like $4 million to move the piece of granite to the museum. It took this whole like motor cavalcade of people, and it moved like 2 miles an hour, and it took like 6 months to move this ginormous piece of granite. And then there's this dude that sold the granite to them, and he goes, he was like this kind of like country kind of guy, had like a little twang to his voice, and he goes, yeah, I could like chip off another piece that's a little bit larger if they want to get like a bigger rock to take to their museum. And they're like, no, like we put so much effort into, like, he owned this large granite mountain basically, and he's like, yeah, I can just chip you off another piece and you can take it. And they're like, but we just spent all this money on this because it's the largest piece and we moved it to a museum. So yeah, I like rocks, and I like rock history.
I wonder if it came from Stone Mountain, Georgia. That's
it might have.
I mean, that's like the world's largest granite deposit. That's, I think, one of the monument companies, like Rock of Ages, maybe.
Okay,
I think basically owns the whole place, and that's where they get all their granite for all their tombstones.
That makes sense. Oh wait, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, what was that?
I don't even know what the, like, it's like a shiny kind of
like a quartz.
Yeah, I don't know the actual technical.
Or alabaster, maybe. Is it soft? Is it soapy?
It's
like, can you chip it off with your fingernail?
No, not that soapy, but it does leave like a residue on my fingers. But it's not chippable. I'd say that it's more of a quartz. Yeah, all kinds of rocks. I used to, like, you know, those, were you familiar with like those barrels that had like all the polished shiny rocks in it?
Yeah, I used to have a rock polisher.
Okay, there you go. Yep. That's right up my alley. That's actually,
that was fun, trying to figure out what type of rocks turned into what else after you polished them for a week.
Yep.
And it was literally like a week straight of polishing.
Oh yeah, it's just like did you have like a tumbler or like a roller? Okay, cool.
You kept putting different grit sand in it and polishing material, and
that's what they do with, well, minus the sand, that's what they do to make sake. They roll the rice in the same rollers and polish off like 40% of it to make sake. The basically it's like Japanese beer, and then everybody knows these, like the ones
geodes.
that they cut in half. Yep, the geodes that they cut in half and really gloss up at least one side.
And some of them are crystalline inside when they.
Yep, they'll chip a little hole into them. I like volcanic rock too. Got some volcanic rock in here. But yeah, any kind of rocks. I'd just like walk around, pick up different rocks. If it was like a different color, it looked weird to me, I'd just put it in my pocket and carry it around all day as a kid, and then I'd bring it home and put it in the collection. So
yeah, I even had a rock garden.
Oh heck yeah! Okay, cool. So we both relate to it. Yep. And then different sticks from different trees. Basically, I would collect too. Or
I didn't do the sticks though. That's just fucking weird.
I would get a stump and you count the rings on it. But yeah, this thing's heavy.
Well, that's not a stick. That's a stump.
That's true. Yeah, but like I would collect mainly sticks, and then I would also try to get like stumps. There's like a lot of cool wood burning stuff you can do with that too. That was my thought behind that.
A lot of I mean, it's artwork. The tree stumps are turned into art a lot. They'll saw them, shellac them.
Oh yeah, you can make a table out of it too.
Yeah,
if you get
tables, like end tables.
Yep, driftwood. You have a lot of driftwood tables.
Lots of driftwood art. Yeah.
Sand it down, varnish it. really make it look beautiful.
But again, you just had a box full of sticks.
I had a box full of sticks, yeah, to
Okay.
make it fully carried, that I think my dad threw away. Because I looked for them for like 2 days. I found my rocks, but I didn't find my sticks.
So when was the last time you asked your dad about your sticks?
Well, it's a continuing conversation that we have weekly about how not only did he sell my original tool set as a kid, but he also sold some of my Legos, and I couldn't forgive him. No, I asked him about it recently, and he kind of admitted that he threw it away. He thought it was trash. So it's kind of on me for being
understandable.
Yeah, for being an adult, having an actual stick collection that I was still adding to this day. But I could always start over. I'm still young. I could pursue my stick hobby well into my if I live to be old.
When those rocks get too heavy to carry around.
Yep. Then I turn to the much lighter Douglas fir collection that I have.
So okay, anything else you collect? Oddball.
Video game stuff. That's kind of it. Like it's just like random things. I have a bottle cap collection. I have a matchbook.
So, okay, over your right shoulder, back on the wall. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, what's that stuff?
This stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a little collage of photos that I have. I have a bunch of photos that I need to put up on it.
Oh, okay. They're just because they kind of look like carded figures from back here.
Nope. It's a stand with some 3 little drawers that I have a bunch of photos on, and I just take little paper clips and I put like a little collage up.
Got it.
It's nothing.
Nothing related to your collecting.
Nope. It's got me with like that's like the first lady drag strip racer. This is the princess, or not the princess. What are the beauty contests called? She's Miss Mongolia. That's me with Miss Mongolia of 2020. Just random stuff. So yeah. I'd say that's about it. I'm a video game at heart, though. I have like just tons of video games that I just enjoy playing. But then emulators make it so much easier, so much more compact, and HDMI cable, and you're in, and you have all the games that you have the nostalgia from. Granted, like a lot of the simulators aren't built for widescreen, so they're just like the same arcade format. So like they decorate the side with some kind of like logo or something. But you'd wish that you could have like your entire big screen of just like Miss Pac-Man, or I don't know. There's so many random games. Like I really loved the Donkey Kong games, the Super Mario Brothers. Specifically the one with that they introduced Yoshi in. That one was really fun.
I remember downloading an emulator for PC 20 years, a long time ago. Yeah. And the emulator was designed for basically the same 8088 processor that was running the games at the time. Yeah. And this was in the early Pentium days. So I had like a Pentium 90 or something. And when you'd load the emulator up on a Pentium 90 and hit start, you'd lose all 3 lives on Pac-Man before you could even hit the first key to try and go anywhere.
I was like, you must have
they didn't clock it down in the emulator.
Nope. Yep. I was like, there's some definite programming that needed to be done before you just plug and play. So
yeah.
Okay.
So I tried doing a little reverse engineering on it to get the clock cycles turned down, and
did you get close?
No, I gave up on it. I lost interest. Okay. Yeah. I thought I was doing it right, and it kept crashing on me. So I gave up and moved on to something else.
Yep. I always told I hate it when like you can't program something and you just kind of like, I guess you can pay somebody to do it, but at the same time you get that
right,
sense of accomplishment.
Or you can devote, more time than it's worth to doing it.
Yep.
You know, and you got to weigh it. You know, do I spend the next 7 nights not sleeping to figure this out, or do I just say piss on it and move
You're
on?
you're like making me relive like half of the projects I've ever tried to attack, where I'm
Yeah.
just like I just like couldn't accomplish it, and I would spend like 3 or 4 days like just researching, trying to figure out how to do it, troubleshooting things, running things, having it crash. Like, technology is difficult in
Right.
that
It's
aspect.
like, you know, picking your battles. You know, will my life go on if I do not accomplish this?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. You know, but sometimes you have to do it just for spite.
Yep. Oh yeah, you have to. Everybody talks about how the computer overlords are going to take over the world, and we have to be nice to our computers. But from a programmer's perspective, you're like, no, I need to figure this out, and I need to conquer this beast so that I can like actually prove that I can that I'm more sophisticated than this program.
Right. Right.
Capable of
Somebody had to
rational
program
thought.
it to begin with.
Exactly.
So, well, you ready for your last keyword?
Yes. Man, the second keyword is what's gonna throw me off.
Well, that's good. What's going to make it fun?
Freaking fluff. All right, what is
Last
it?
keyword, bone.
Bone. Oh man, what? It's gonna be sexual. You give me bone, fluff, turtle, and a color.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Last question from me, anyways.
Cool.
Um,
That's gone. That's gone. Rocks
yeah.
and sticks. That's gone.
Anything that we've covered so far that you want to expand or expound upon? Any nuggets you wanted to drop and forgot about?
Looking around, I've shown. Oh wait, there's one thing I haven't shown you. As I showed that I was into dinosaurs and like fossils and stuff like that. I love paleontology, so obviously,
Before you just mentioned that before I forget, but going back to art and dinosaurs.
Yes.
Ben Templesmith for his Inktober is doing a dinosaur day.
Ben Templesmith.
Yep. 30 days a night. He just did the recent DC's Batman Gotham by Night, I think is what it was called.
Okay.
But yeah, he's doing a dinosaur a day for his Inktober, and they're all for sale somewhere up on his website, I think.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Got it saved. I have 3 tabs that I need to go through. So on the topic of dinosaurs, I've always had like this weird affinity for dinosaurs, and I also like cars, and so naturally, if you like dinosaurs and cars, there's a comic book for it, right? Do you know where I'm going?
I do. I absolutely do.
Dinosaurs and Cadillacs, or Cadillacs and dinosaurs. And then as a completionist, you got to have the first appearance of Cadillacs and dinosaurs in
See, you got me on that one. I did not know that was the first appearance.
Death Rattle 8 is the first appearance of Cadillacs and dinosaurs. And then also as a completionist, you should have the entire series of Xenozoic Tales, starting from 1 and going through the Kitchen Sink Comics series. So yeah, first appearance was Death Rattle 8. And that, I think that leads perfectly into the last question too, is with independent comic books, it's hard to classify first appearances unless the series is like super big, like an Invincible or a Walking Dead or a Spawn. Like those are like hundreds of issues, so that warrants having a first appearance, because there's so much content that's how you sort it out and you rationalize it. But like a mini series how are you going to have, I think that's what's kind of driving the independent marketplace with like buying up issue ones, is because it's the start of a new story. Like it's a fresh story, but it ends in like anywhere from like 3 to 10 or 12 issues is usually like the max for like a miniseries. And I just find it perplexing that first appearances are so prevalent in DC comic book collecting and Marvel comic book collecting. If you like a character, why do you need, from a psychological perspective, why do you need the first appearance? Like, shouldn't you just be happy with having like the story that's told by them?
Wasn't there just a run on Batman and DC where like every issue had a first appearance of somebody in it?
And I fell right into the trap. I mean, so Clown Hunter, Miracle Molly, was it Peacemaker or Ghostmaker? Ghostmaker, I think. They all, it's just like, I mean, recently, if you go back, what it was like Hell Arisen #3, and then we can regurgitate it. We can regurgitate the information. Like I can say, Hell Arisen 3 is the first appearance of Punchline. And I'm just like, why do I know that information? And why does it matter so much? Like, if I like Punchline, why don't I just pick up the Punchline books and read the books? If I like Joker, pick up the Joker books. Same thing goes with Marvel. Like, I'm a Star-Lord fan. That was the second thing that I was wearing was my Star-Lord cosplay. So why wouldn't I just pick up the Guardians of the Galaxy series and read that?
Oh, that's what it was. I thought it was from your Thriller audition.
No. This is a Star-Lord. We got the Ravager patch and what's it called? I had like the whole get up as well. Oh yeah, you guys don't know my I'll link in my link tree my personal Instagram so that you guys actually see who I am in real life. It's the same thing, just less comics, but still the same kind of nerdy guy. But my name's Kyle. I'll link my other Instagram profile if people want to check it out. But I was trying to keep.
Yeah, that'll make it easy because I can just drop your link tree then in the description of the video. And
yeah, then it just has everything. Then you don't have to waste your time looking up stuff.
Yeah.
I got it all organized for you.
And then everybody can check your whole collection out, your 7 pictures per book, and
yep, and then
your Funkos,
and go back in my life and figure out what I was doing in high school and college. So, but yeah, I think that was it. I just wanted to touch upon the indie first appearances because it doesn't make sense to me. Like, what's your opinion of first appearances? Do you need to have the first appearances in certain titles?
In certain ones, I feel the need to have them. Mainly, though, only, and I don't want everybody's first appearance.
Yeah.
Only first appearance of a character or title that I really have a vested interest in.
Okay.
And then the other one would be if it's from a speculation standpoint.
Okay, that makes sense. Because my next question would be why? Like, what is the reason? And speculation, and I like the character.
Yeah, that's basically it.
I just found it interesting that that's what drives the market. Like, we can show like a random like Fantastic Four book, be like Fantastic Four 92. This is the first appearance of Super Skrull or whatever, and like it's fascinating to me that that's what drives the market. And like Omega Red's first appearance, like all those kind of stuff that get all these kind of hypes, but yet. I don't know. It's
right.
fascinating.
And when it's an artificial market, because any creative team can at any point kill a character, make a new character, do whatever they want.
Yep. Or take that character and mold it
with the multiverse then and time travel. They can. Yep. It could have never happened.
They could unwind it.
Yeah.
Then it didn't even matter. Like there's like a true Red X appearance, but it's not a Red X appearance because it was an android. Like, it's like these weird kind of tidbits or nuggets of information that we all know and we can regurgitate, and that's what drives the market. And I think it's fun and petty at the same time. But I love that that's what keeps it going and keeps it fresh. Like it gives us something to look forward to.
And then it gives you the discussion of what was the first appearance. Was it that single panel? Was it the full story? Was it the cover appearance?
Yeah, I never said cameo. So.
And then going back and to the old days, they had prototypes. Everything character prototypes. They just would.
Yep.
We got an idea for a character, and we'll kind of loosely do an issue around what we want to do, and they go, okay, now we'll refine it and do the real thing.
That's nuts. Oh, that's got to drive people crazy.
Yeah. And then when you have your completionists who want, every prototype appearance along with every appearance of the actual character.
Absolutely.
Like I just got the first, the prototype of, which hopefully I'll have a video out between now and then. Mylar.
I ran out of
GI Combat.
Very nice. So what's the prototype of?
68 Sergeant Rock.
Okay.
So, and in this, it's featuring The Rock. So he's not a sergeant yet.
I ran out of outfits, so I just took my shirt off. Oh, never mind. Okay.
Oh,
sorry. I didn't have anything to change into. So he's the first. He's the first what again? The
prototype of Sergeant Rock. So in this book, he's just called The Rock.
Yeah.
So then in the next book is a different series. It's Our Army at War.
Cool.
Then he's given a rank, and he's called Sergeant Rock. And then the next issue, there's a few more details about the character. But then in 83 is when supposedly that's his first true appearance.
That's nuts. Even though he had the prototype like way before.
Right. Well, I mean, it's only technically about 4 months, maybe 6 months before, but
still in relation.
And and that's the least valuable out of the books.
Even though if you were like from a completionist standpoint, I'd rather have the prototype because that's the true first appearance. Because that's from a creative aspect. That's what they were trying. That's what the character became. Even though he wasn't called Sergeant Rock, he was just called The Rock.
Right.
So, I mean, when you look at The Rock, do you see Sergeant Rock? Like, can you see how he molded into Sergeant Rock?
With hindsight, yeah, of course you can. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's definitely not a carbon copy, but you can see the building blocks. I mean, you know what it turns into.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we have those problems with modern books.
Not really, no.
I mean, I don't remember I don't know what the most recent prototype I've seen, being talked about. Probably in the 90s.
Yeah, it had to be.
I seem to remember something from maybe, I want to say it ended up being an image character, but it was whenever the creator was maybe working for Malibu or somebody.
Yeah, Malibu's that's where I learned about the ferret from Malibu comics.
Yeah. So I want to say in one of those titles there was a prototype character that turned into something. Maybe it was a Savage Dragon prototype.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
I can't remember, but that's
as companies kind of dissolve too, like you still have those creators that have those ideas and they can perpetuate it into like a larger company, a bigger title, and it's the same character, but it showed up at like the company that's no longer around. I totally see that happen. And that a lot of that turnaround happened in the 90s.
Yeah. So anybody that's still watching after almost 2 hours, leave comments with prototypes that you know of from like the 90s, from 1990 up. Yeah, let's go back to 85.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's go to 85. Prototypes from 85 up. Be interested to see. Well, I'm sure there's some out there. We'll start a new niche collecting area.
Prototype collectors.
Prototypes only.
I'm into it. And it doesn't sound like we're gonna be spending a lot of money, so I'm definitely into it. In the sense of
yeah, some of them. I mean, there's a Conan prototype out there. I mean,
ooh,
almost
okay,
every
that's a big name.
yeah, this Sergeant Rock prototype, and then even if you go back to like Kirby and Lee days, there's like Thor prototypes, and I mean, there's prototypes for back in the day. There was a lot.
Kirby is my idol. Like he is like the unsung hero. Like he did so much. He did so much for the comic book industry. Yet Stan Lee gets like the main spotlight just because he was like the face of Marvel. But I think Jack Kirby is my favorite, at least from a perpetuation of the comic industry.
You ready for your last question?
Yes.
Are you ready for your half question? Do you have that ready yet?
I'm still thinking.
Still thinking on it. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
please.
So, question number 7. This is the one you didn't have time to prep for.
Good, because I have nothing ready.
All right. So, probably a lot of people watching have seen you on some of the different live streams. You know, Legion's Friday morning hangout, or maybe Chips, and you're usually doing some pretty odd things, like digging a ditch, or jumping around in an attic, or cutting a tree down. What's up? I mean, what is it? Why is it you're always doing these kind of oddball, pushing a car out of a garage, a nice car?
Yeah, it was a Camaro that we were pushing out of the garage.
Yeah, was it like a 68 or something, or
it was a 69 Z28 Camaro.
Yeah.
It was orange, and it was right next to a Mustang, and it was right next to a Chevelle. It was like, oh yeah, you have a Mustang as well. I forget the year.
73.
You have a convertible, 73.
Yeah,
okay.
73.
So we have a 50 or 63. I don't remember. I think we have a 63 Mustang convertible with all white interior, and then we have a 70s Chevelle. But yeah, I work on cars with my dad. So they were all, I kind of like took it. The only liberty that I took was the when I was washing the roof down, and I was up there with like shoes with no shoelaces and shoes with no grip, and I literally almost fell off a roof live on stream, which was really, like, in hindsight, that was really, really stupid.
That's one I missed. I missed that one.
Yeah, that one is perfectly fine to miss, because like I literally almost fell. Like, you see me stumble, and there's a live stream I was on yesterday where I just I spilled something over everything that I had out.
So that would have been funnier than Burke falling during his live stream. Did you make the same noise?
I did not make a noise, and I did catch myself, but it was dangerous. It could have been hospital trip dangerous, but no, I did not make the same noise as Burke. And Burke refers to me as Jessica, by the way. Because he's pretending that he just said my real name like 2 nights ago on stream.
I know.
But all of those came generically. It was just the timing of Mark's stream, and every Friday morning I get up and I do something around the house. And one of them, I was actually working on a job site, which is also one of those hindsight moments where I'm like, probably shouldn't have been filming that. Like, I was changing a water main. I'm a plumber by trade. But then I'm also a licensed wholesale automotive dealer. I went to school for journalism. I got a minor in cognitive and behavioral neuroscience. I went through the Boy Scouts and got Eagle Scout and a Vigil honor, which are 2 national honors. I'm writing my own novel and a screenplay. I'm editing my own comic book, or not my own comic book, but somebody else's comic book, which was my previous girlfriend, which we're taking a break. I'm building a whole house water filter system, and I'm also designing my own solid state battery. and I'm doing some like art stuff on the side, but it's mainly sculptures, like water. Like I'm doing a waterfall kind of sculpture where it's like a waterfall that takes two different paths and it goes through and it like moves with the wind. It's like a bunch of pipes hanging from a tree. Um, I do. I'm constantly absorbing. Like if I'm not learning something, I'm bored, and I have to be. I
Yeah.
have to constantly be learning. And if I'm not learning, I get burned out. And we kind of mentioned it earlier in this conversation. Like you can get burned out on comics too. Like there are people that left comics and then came back from comics. There's a lot of them. And that's what's kind of driving this industry is all those people coming back to the nostalgia factor. But I'm like afraid that like the variant market and the resale market is kind of scaring people away as like the world starts picking up. Um, but I'm an outsider. I jump into different communities, whether it be video games, comics, cars, plumbing. Like I'm on plumbing forums where I show off like the plumbing work that we've done. It's kind of artistic because we like things to be like really clean and precise. But I diversify myself, and I love learning new things, and I love having opportunities to learn new things from people who have knowledge. Like I love picking your brain. Like the things like when people talk on these streams, most of the times I do wacky things because that's how I feel that I fit in. And I I sit there and I listen and I learn from all of you, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I love that you've accepted me in this community, and I get the opportunity to learn. And I don't think that that's time wasted. So thank you. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for having me here. And thank you for this wacky freaking question that you're about to have me get on to.
So
Yeah.
so on your plumbing, do you do like the old school copper line brazing,
Oh yeah. My
welding?
my dad is super old school. He's been doing it for about 50 years. 50.
So what's he think of the new PEX and shark bites?
He hates it. He absolutely hates it. Like PEX is like kryptonite. Like when PEX first came out, they used this gray pipe, and it rats would know that there's water and rats would chew holes in it. So what they did to PEX was that they added a chemical that deterred rats. So you're running your potable water system through plastic piping that has an added chemical that deters rats from biting into your lines so that they can get water. And there's like it hasn't my dad's like so old school that he's like, well, it hasn't put the hasn't stood the test of time. Like it hasn't been around for long enough. Like same with tankless water heaters and all
Right.
that kind of technology. He's so old school. But like I know how to lead a pipe together. Cast iron pipe, the hub and the lead that goes around it, and then you melt you have like this molten like uh uh mixture that you're making, and you like throw the lead into the pipe and it creates the seal. Like I know how to do that, and I shouldn't. I'm like 29. Like that's been unpracticed for like
Yeah.
25 years or something like that. But I know how to crack clay pipe. I know how to work with cast iron. And that's kind of why I get along with Pocan Joe. Uh, all the stuff that he's doing, like he's like welding things, and I'm like watching intently. I'm like, make him big, make him big. I need to see what he's doing. But yeah, the copper work that I didn't know that this conversation was going that way, but the copper work that we do is shiny. Like we polish everything. I use a what is it? Magnesium based polish to shine up the copper, and that's kind of our signature. Is like we'll clear coat our cast iron pipe that we do. Like we're old school plumbers, but we do a good job. And that's kind of where I get my money to fund my actual life and eating food. So yeah, lots of old school plumbing, but it's fun. it takes a toll on your body if you don't take care of it. But I do. I wear a back brace. I'm not injured at all, but I wear like all kinds of protective gear.
Yeah, you can, when you're working on plumbing, you can get yourself in some awkward situations, awkward positions.
I've been stuck under a house where I have plumbed myself into a corner, and I had to get my dad to throw me a shovel, and I had to tunnel my way out of the out from under the house. And like, if you're claustrophobic or you're a germaphobe, it's not really plumbing is not your forte. Even though I am a germaphobe, and yeah, it's fun. I like I said, I like learning, and it's something that I learn. So.
All right.
I'm gearing up.
You're getting there.
Yep. The thing is, I have a turtle. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Okay. I have a red-eared slider, but I kind of want to make like a poop joke about turtling. I know what it's gonna be. All right. It's gonna be embarrassing. Should I just do it? I'm just gonna do it.
Let her rip.
All right. So I was on a shoot, right? And I was taking photos, as I do in my other profession. And the fluffer had he was doing his job of fluffing as fluffers do. And he turns to me and he goes, "I'm turtling, man. I'm turtling. I gotta get out of here." I'm like, okay. So I drop my camera. He goes off and handles his business, and there's this bone just sitting in front of me, and I'm like, well, I had to do something. I had to keep the job going. So my face turned kind of like a purplish color, and I just went for it. And I kept the fluffing going, and they may have asked me what went on, and my answer to it was I don't talk about that situation anymore, and I'd like to keep it. I'd like to keep that under wraps. So that's it. We're 2 hours into this thing, and they were all sexual terms. Turtle, fluff, bone, purplish.
They could have been TMNT. Could have been a fluffy bunny.
I wasn't thinking of any of that.
Could have been Barney, the purplish dinosaur. You're the one whose mind went straight to the gutter.
I picked up the Gun Honey cover just strictly as a cover buy. That's where my mind is. So
you make it sound like they were loaded keywords,
right? Yeah. They're, okay. Sorry. My turtle is a very nice pet to have. Like when I squeeze his. Like, how do I go to fluff though? Like fluffy and like he's not turtle-ish. There's nothing with bones. I had to go where I went. I had to go.
All right.
I stand by it.
That was one of the more entertaining ones.
I'm gonna hear so much crap from this.
All right. So you got anything else to add before we?
No, not at all. I was just trying to
wrap this up and go backstage.
Yeah, that's fine. I was trying to beat the record of your longest interview, so I just kept talking and talking.
You will have it. You'll beat Dank by a minute or two by the time we actually wrap up.
Sounds good. All right.
So unless I can wrap up in the next 8 seconds.
Oh, you actually know the
Yeah,
actual time of the longest
yeah.
one? Okay. So
So we
follow
passed
me,
it.
follow me on the socials, and harangue me about what I just said, and then also tell us about the from the 80s and the 90s, the different prototype characters that you can think of, and make sure that you comment them below, and we'll do something special for the best one that is stated. I don't know.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on and doing this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Like, not a lot of people like to hear me out, so I like being able to talk.
yeah, I actually learned a thing or two, I believe. So, which was
Good.
one of my main goals.
And that's what the goal of this should be. Like, you've had some really prolific people on. I've learned a lot from Dank. I've learned a lot from many of your guests, actually. So as long as you're learning and you're not wasting your time, and I'm able to provide some knowledge, good on you as well. So thank you very much
We
for
learned how to
sharing.
be a pro at Comic Cons from Burke.
Yep, there you go. You gotta
Yeah,
have
and
like a whole you gotta have like a whole setup, and there's a lot to know about Comic Cons if they let you bring in certain things. If security doesn't like,
oh, but yeah, if you're talking cosplay aspect of it, for sure.
yeah, I bring like a little roller case, and it's just filled with like alcohol and snacks. So that's how I threw panels and stuff like that. But it's always fun to learn. Uh, but yeah.
Okay, well, I suppose that'll wrap up the actual 7.5 question portion. Everybody can stick around for the backstage conversation. Who I don't know how long that'll be or what's going to go on, but we'll play the outro and see you backstage, hopefully.